I'm currently looking for a brand new vlogging camera. I just realized, over the past 7 years of this YouTube channel, I've used all kinds of cameras. And when I first got started, my first camera on this channel was literally the Blackmagic pocket cinema camera. Quite possibly the worst camera that you can ever buy for the purpose of vlogging. The biggest issue was that this thing had no autofocus. Yeah, it was terrible. Like literally, I had to focus manually. And then the second problem was the fact that this thing had a tiny little sensor, which means to get a wide lens for vlogging was absolutely almost impossible. I ended up buying something called a speed booster, which kind of gave you a wider field of view. Even though you did that, it didn't quite give you a wide enough field of view to be able to vlog like I'm vlogging right now. So that was also a problem. Second thing was this thing was kind of heavy. So it made the camera even heavier. And also to make this camera actually work, you literally had to rig it up because the battery life was so bad. Like literally, if you got 5 minutes, you were lucky. I was constantly changing batteries, changing SD cards and everything. This thing image was absolutely amazing. That's why I bought this camera. I just loved how images looked out of this camera. You could shoot in log and then grade it later. At that time, no other cameras were actually doing this. So this thing was quite unique in that respect. After using that camera for a while, I was like, you know what, man, I need something better. I then bought the Panasonic GH5. To this day, yeah, that was still probably, or still is, one of my favorite cameras for creating content. The one thing I had in common with the Blackmagic pocket cinema camera was the fact that the autofocus was also terrible. Oh my gosh, this thing was just when it worked, yeah, it was okay, but most of the time it didn't work. It was always hunting. And also, wide lenses was also a problem because it was a Micro Four Thirds sensor, so it wasn't quite big enough to get that ultra wide kind of field of view. Again, I had to use a speed booster to make it work. But this camera had so much tech in it, yeah, that I just had to buy it because you could literally shoot in open gate, which most cameras to this day still don't have. And this camera had it about 5 years ago. That was kind of insane when you think about it. What's going on, bro? Yo. You're right. So it's kind of crazy. So from that camera, one thing the GH5 had was also stabilization, which meant that I could use lenses that were not stabilized and it looked pretty cool. It was really, really good for 5 years ago. But this camera was kind of big, it was kind of heavy, and it was not the best thing for obviously vlogging because again, the autofocus was not great, as I said earlier. Battery life was much better, and it had 2 SD card slots, so you could record on one card. When it got full, you start recording to the next card. Or you could set it as redundancy so that if one card got corrupted, whatever, you still have your data on the second card. Amazing camera. I had it for probably 3 years. And then I was like, you know what, man? I really like vlogging. I need a camera that I didn't have to think about when I wanted to vlog. I then got, I think it was, what did I get? I think I got an EOS R. No. I got an M50. I got a Canon M50. This thing was actually amazing. It was tiny. It was small, it was tiny, and it was an APS-C sensor, so it was a little bit bigger than what I had with the GH5, and the colors were beautiful because obviously it's Canon. It had no stabilization, but you could buy lenses that kind of had stabilization built in, which wasn't too bad. And this camera was plastic. It wasn't the best, but for the job of vlogging, I really enjoyed using this camera. And then after that, I got an EOS R in it because it was my first full frame sensor camera. This thing, yeah, the imagery was absolutely beautiful. It was just nice. You get a nice wild field of view. I bought a 16 to I think 35mm lens, which is was perfect for vlogging purposes and stuff like that. But there was still a problem, man. This camera did not have stabilization. It was big, it was heavy, and I'll be honest, I didn't love using it for vlogging as much as I thought I would. I just found the M50, I'm going the wrong way, man. The M50 for me was much more enjoyable to use for vlogging than the EOS R. So I then sold that camera and decided to get the Sony, what's it called? The Sony A7 IV, because this thing had built-in stabilization, and at the time it was the best camera that you could get. It's got 2 memory card slots, and Sony just had amazing lenses and stuff like that. But I don't know, man, there's something about the Sony colors here that I just didn't like, innit? And again, as a vlogging camera, this camera was just big. It was heavy. And I was like, I need something smaller, something more compact that I can use every day and take with me everywhere. And again, I still have this camera. I only ever use it for like talking head, like on a tripod, I'm sat down talking kind of scenario. Even then, I use this camera more than I use the Sony. I was like, I need a vlogging camera. So I then bought this, the Fujifilm X-S20. So far, this has been my favorite vlogging camera to date. It is compact, it's small, it's got built-in stabilization. The autofocus is not quite as good as the Sony a7 IV, but I think it's good enough. I was able to get a really wide lens, like this 8mm Fujifilm XM or XF lens. I think for the purpose of vlogging, on this camera, it's absolutely amazing. The problem is, when you add a microphone, you add this lens, and all of a sudden, what was once light kind of becomes a little bit heavy, especially when you're holding it out like this. So I was like, I need a new vlogging camera. So last week or 2 weeks ago, Canon brought out a new camera called the Canon V1, which is supposed to be a vlogging camera. This camera is replacing the Canon G7X, which was a very, very popular vlogging camera back in the day. I think it came out like 5 or 7 years ago. I was gonna buy this camera, but then I realized the autofocus was absolutely terrible. That's one thing that this camera just sucked hard when it came to autofocus. So I didn't end up getting it. That's when I ended up getting this instead. Obviously you have Sony, they have like really nice compact cameras like the ZV-1 or whatever they call it. But again, I wasn't really in love with the Sony camera, with the Sony colors. And also it wasn't shooting like 10-bit log. And I was like, do I really want to go back to like shooting 8-bit after shooting 10-bit since the GH5? Pretty much. GH5? Was it Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 10-bit? It might have been, I don't know. But I didn't want to go back there. And also, this camera, the lens for me wasn't wide enough when you add like a digital stabilization, because it kind of cropped in. So for the purpose of vlogging, it didn't work very, very well. So that one had to be scrapped to the wayside. So now I'm looking at two cameras. One is the V1 from Canon. The second is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. What I like about the V1 from Canon is the fact that it's got built-in ND filters. That's really, really cool if you want to keep that that motion blur. You want to shoot at like, say, I don't know, 25 FPS or 24 or 30. I can literally cut out all this light to keep that frame imagery looking really, really nice and cinematic. I can't really do that. I think with this camera right now, I have to screw on an ND filter, which kind of takes away the whole process of vlogging. I just want to point the camera and bloody shoot. That's what I'm doing right now. I kind of like it. I'm not worrying about any of that imagery stuff, but I would like to be able to have that done automatically with an inbuilt ND filter, which is what the Canon V1 actually does. The Canon V1 is relatively compact. It's got a zoom lens, a 16 or 15 to I think 50 equivalent. That's really, really nice for vlogging. And it's got a slightly bigger sensor than 1 inch. That's very, very nice. And it's got stabilization, but it's more like digital than actually inbuilt stabilization. I think the lens has built-in stabilization as well, but it's never as good as proper IBIS built into the camera. Which makes me think, yeah, why does Canon do this, man? You're making a vlogging camera, yeah? For some reason, you're leaving out the one thing that every vlogger really wants, and that is a stable image. I mean, come on, Canon, man. This is like 2025. We're getting a brand new camera without IBIS. I don't get that one. So that's a bit of a strange one. So it's between that and the Osmo Pocket 3. Now, the Osmo Pocket 3 is really interesting. This thing is like literally tiny. It means that I can literally take this anywhere and not have to worry about like carrying this, putting it in my pocket. And yeah, it can be my everyday, anywhere, anytime kind of camera. I like the aspect of it. It's got a built-in gimbal, which means you're gonna get steady, smooth imagery all the time. That to me is amazing. You get like, I think it's a 19.5mm fixed lens on that. It's not the widest lens, but I think it's good enough for vlogging. And you get that nice blurry background because it's an f2 lens. So that looks really interesting to me. There's a lot of reasons why I think that might possibly be my next vlogging lens. Only thing that I have as a downside for this camera is the fact that that gimbal looks mad delicate, and also you can't really zoom like physically. It's a fixed lens. You can zoom digitally, but then you're gonna lose a little bit of quality as well. So it's between that and the V1. So I don't know what decision I'm gonna make, but yeah, one of those two will be my new camera. So yeah, vlogging is a difficult situation, man. It's like there's so many things that you need: stability, good. Oh, the DJI, it has one thing that a Canon doesn't have, where you have like your wireless mic. It literally communicates wirelessly, as it says in the name, with the camera, without you have to like plug in any cables or anything like that. I mean, for me, that's just like, that's amazing. I like what DJI is doing with their ecosystem, and I wish other cameras would do the same thing. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm kind of leaning towards Osmo Pocket 3, but then again, the V1 looks really, really interesting. So we'll see. Anyway, just a random video that I just thought I'll make during my lunch walk, and there you go. Bada bing, bada boom. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, let me know like what cameras you guys are vlogging with, innit? And what would you guys choose between the V1 and the Osmo Pocket 3? I've seen so many people walking around with the Osmo, it's kind of insane. And in the UK at the moment, you can't really get it because it's apparently sold out everywhere. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe I should just get the Osmo Pocket 3. But then again, if I can't get it, what am I gonna do? Or maybe just keep this camera. I love the image on this camera. It's so beautiful. It's obviously a bigger sensor. You can shoot in 10-bit log as well. You can color grade. And Fuji has some really, really nice like film simulations as well, which I just think can make your stuff look really unique. And this camera shoots in 6.2K open gate, which is absolutely amazing. That means I can film once and deliver everywhere. That to me is like, literally priceless. So yeah, the Osmo doesn't quite do that, even though you can shoot in a square 1:1, but then that's kind of like you're cropping, you're losing quality. I think it's 3K instead of 4K. So I don't know, but I got some decisions to make. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video, innit? I just thought I'd make this one as I walk, and I want to make more random videos like this. I just think like just off the cuff, what you're thinking, and yeah, put it out there. Bada bing, bada boom. I'll see you guys in the next one. Pew! Wow. Need to drop the camera. God damn.